Welcome to Schooling for Spirituality. The Flow is a delightful mix of insight, divine inspiration, and humor, where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. Follow the flow of enlightenment and explore everything spiritual through the deepest self-inquiry, as student Lisa Berry asks Master Spiritual Teacher G.P. Walsh the kinds of questions you would ask an elder, a wise man, or a sage, and receive direct, simple, comprehensive, and deeply human lessons and teachings. From transcending the experience of separation, releasing old conditioned patterns and wounds, and alleviating suffering, to demystifying esoteric practices and revealing one's true purpose and innate freedom. Welcome to the Flow of Enlightenment. Transformation is all there is.
Well, welcome everyone to the Flow of Enlightenment, that is. GP, I've actually been anticipating today's show so specifically because it's all about the flaw of attraction. When we first came, when you had said that word, and I was like, oh, isn't that like so? Well, it's a little bit controversial. I'm excited to go into this one because we're going to get to explore: is the law of attraction an actual law? Is it a flaw of attraction? A lot of people, including myself, so I'm gonna out myself right now. I'm going to raise my hand that about 3.5 years ago, the law of attraction was extra reintroduced to me. And I felt like it really did change my life, but then there was always a limit. And so I feel like that's what we're going to dive into today, but I never know because I am the student. You are the Master Spiritual Teacher, G.P. Walsh. And, so I'm going to kick this off with a decade, maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago, decade ago or so ago, you spoke about the law of attraction in your own teaching and work. So can you bring us to a point where you found out that there was a flaw in the law of attraction?
Well, I always knew there was. It was nothing new to me. The whole idea of manifesting things has been around for a very long time. It's been around in the West for about 150 years with the origins of the New Thought Church and the existentialists and things like that. So it's not like it was new. I'd been introduced to it back in the 70s, although that word hadn't been coined, that phrase, law of attraction, right. That hadn't been coined yet. And it goes even back further. I mean, the Hindus and the yogis and their siddhi powers of manifestation and levitation and all sorts of different things. So it was nothing new when I heard about it, and it became such a phenomena because of The Secret. And I actually know just most of the teachers that were on The Secret. None of them actually really liked the movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because they thought it trivialized it. It reduced everything down to just the most, basically, money, health, wealth, and relationships. And all that stuff's okay, right? But I mean, I think we can do a little bit better with our lives than just spend it endlessly pursuing material comfort and material gain. And that, to me, was the flaw that I saw right in the beginning. It's not that there isn't some truth to it, because there is. And anybody knows. When you're in love, everything looks beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're upset about something, everything looks horrible. Right, everything is miserable. So our perceptions and our inner state are obviously intertwined, right? But to me, the big flaw was the emphasis became on the accumulation of material things, and it became very self-absorbed. Mm. So it was all about me getting what I wanted, and you even hear people say, if somebody is struggling, well, it's your own fault, it's your creation, you're doing it. I mean, it was just like harsh.
Yes.
And and of course, it's supposedly a law. So if it's not working for you, it's your fault. And that's kind of the disposition that the teachers of it, and the adherents to it took. So everything. It was just a brand new way for us to beat ourselves up. Oh. And I saw that for the most part, it didn't work.
Right.
And in the ones where it appeared to work were, the people talking about the wealth they gained, they'd all gotten the wealth from selling courses about the law of attraction, which I thought was a bit contradictory. I mean, show me something else and then tell me about it. But most of them were just selling courses on how to do it.
Yes, that really surged for sure. The courses in this thing, and you really nailed something there for me that I was. I didn't mean attracted to because it's the law of attraction, but I was attracted to. This part was for whatever reason at something. It was there's 4 words I'm going to say. One of them was responsibility. I don't mean blame. It's like if it doesn't work, it's your fault. Yes. But it did direct me to a place to take more responsibility of how I was feeling and thinking and reacting and such. It also reminded me that I was a creator. But if you take that too far, now you're a creator with control. I don't know. That's where a flaw might be with me. And I think there's a difference between the word empowered and responsible. And that would be my student question to you when it comes to this flawed.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. I mean, one of the positive effects of it was many people got the opportunity, probably for the first time, to step out of the idea that they were victims, and to take some responsibility that they are contributing to the state of their life. So the repetitions of the particular thoughts and beliefs, it got people to question their beliefs. But the most fundamental question of all, which is what our first show is about, who am I, was never in the mix. It was never about. It was all questioning your thoughts so that you could get what you want. It was never about questioning the want itself. Where did it originate from? Is this really going to make me happy? Or is this want that I have just another cultural implant, something that I received from from the parents and the culture at large? So I'm pursuing something that really might not be able to deliver what I think it can. And in fact, it can't. Because the idea was to be happy. And there's no thing in the universe that can make you happy. They don't possess that ability. If you get a car, you have a car, not happiness.
What if someone's finding happiness from it? So if I really didn't have a car and now I have a car and I'm thinking, wow, I'm really happy I have a car. It's allowing me to do the things I do. How might one, maybe even me, go, well, wait a second. No, I kind of am happy because I have a car.
Well, sure. But that's the happiness that comes and goes. This is the spiritual teaching of happiness that doesn't come and go. We're not talking about we all experience happiness. Like you get new things, it's really fun when I order something and there's a long delay on getting it, right? It's something that takes a while. And all of a sudden, 3 weeks after I ordered, this thing shows up. It's like my birthday. It's like fun. Oh, this is really fun. Yes, of course. How long does that feeling last? A little bit. Is it nice? Yes. But that's an approach of life. But if you think life is nothing about having one desire after another fulfilled, then you're on this treadmill. You're on Shiva's wheel. Because that is a momentary experience. All emotional highs and lows are transient. They come and go. What doesn't come and go? This is what we're really looking for. We're looking for happiness that's permanent. And that's what most people seek wealth for. They think if I have all the money, I'll always be able to fulfill every desire I have, and then I'll be always happy. And the insanity of that And in fact, it's been psychologically disproved in study after study after study. The more money people begin to accumulate, the less happy they get. The more worried about the money, the more it absorbs their life. So it's not a panacea. So this to me is the major flaw. It distracts people from looking to the right place to find that happiness, which is not a cheat. It doesn't betray you. It doesn't come and go. And it's much deeper than just the emotional high or the emotional relief from getting something nice. And discovering that transcendent contentment doesn't eradicate the excitement of the fun stuff. It's just now tempered by the fact of knowing that it's temporary. It's going to pass. Everything does. And so you don't get attached to it. And if, something you're wanting doesn't show up, it isn't devastating. That's the real problem. When you invest that much in the fulfillment of a desire and it doesn't show up, you are in perpetual suffering until it does. And if it doesn't, that can go on for years.
Yes, I like that. If it doesn't show up, that you're not in perpetual devastation and suffering, but that you're looking for this permanent happiness. And that I'm drawn to the word permanent here because as we've shared, you shared, that truth is never ending. It's timeless. It's not measurable. It just doesn't end. So when we all ask about that law of attraction, is it indeed a law, and should not a law therefore be truth?
Exactly so. No, it's not a law. It's a convention of mind. It's a phenomena that is experienced, and there is a relationship between the experience of the outer and the experience of the inner. They are actually a continuum. In fact, if I went all the way, I could show you that they're actually the same, that there is no outer or inner, it's all inner.
Oh.
Right. Now, as long as this law is something that operates external to me, I'm still in very much the material model of the universe. Whatever I decide is true is true. Period. I will experience it as if it was true. Not because it is, but because I am. And I imbue it with the truth that is me. But in my ignorance, I think this object that I've imbued with my own qualities possesses those qualities rather than merely reflects them. The law of reflection is a much closer. It gets to it much on a much deeper level than attraction. Attraction explicitly says there's a separation. There's got to be two there to attract it.
Yes.
I'm here, it's over there. And now I've got to go. So again, it's the classic relationship model of spirituality, which is the whole Western religion. God and I are different. So I have a relationship with God, not a union with God. And so every law of the universe then becomes this external force that I have to deal with in one way or another. Now it's the law of attraction, and how do I deal with that? Well, okay, I've got to raise my vibration to a certain level that'll vibrate in harmony with the thing, and the thing is in the vortex, and which is this huge cosmic bank somewhere that's got all my goodies, and I'm just trying to figure out the code so I can get them out.
Yes.
And so we're in this constant struggle to turn ourselves into something else, which is exactly the opposite of genuine spirituality, which is the recognition of what you actually are. The recognition, paradoxically, the recognition of who you are is the highest vibration there is.
Oh, I love that. The recognition of who you are is the most spiritual. Sorry, I'm going to recap that. I like that, though. That is the highest vibration. The recognition of who we are, the knowing of oneself.
Yes, because that's what I mean. If you want to discover permanent happiness, right? it must be here now.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Oh, I like.
Because if it isn't, then it's not permanent.
Right. Yes. When you said that, actually, it was just so interesting when you say when you have to attract something or raise your vibration to align it, to get the code, to get it out, that's so separate. Like, you're right. I'm very much witnessing that. So if I'm seeing it, it's not me.
That's right.
And yes. I'm looking at it going, I need to get to it, or it needs to come to me, which is the most separate you could ever be. I mean, those are definitely two things. And then we have a lack. Now we're coming from a place of suffering from not having or being or calling in. And, well, geez, how come so many people, like literally millions of people, this was not a good question before the break, but I'm going to ask it. Why are millions of people drawn to this, and why does it make so much sense to them? Is it a good place to start, maybe?
Well, for some, I have had a lot of students that have come to me from that world and seen a deeper way. Because it is, for most people, it's a step forward from where they were. But what's so attractive to it is the unbridled attainment of my desires, which the world over, the whole model that we live in, especially in the West, is that's what life's about. The accumulation of stuff. That's what life's about.
Yes.
And so this seems like, there's different ways of doing it. You can, a Wall Street broker, there's the, path of pure greed. There's the path of, massive action. There's the success principles. And this metaphysical one, right? If you look at it, underneath it is exactly the same set of desires taking different forms. Nobody questions the validity of that desire, and nobody questions the one who has the desire. We all know the object we want. We all know the feeling of wanting. But then I ask the question, well, then who are you? And, what? What does that have to do with anything? Who is it that's experiencing this desire? That to me is far more interesting, because if you find them, you find the permanent happiness.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so I know we'll go to commercial break, but when we do come back, let's talk about how the flaw of attraction is really about the attainment of desires and not the beautiful question of who am I? So when we come back on the Flow of Enlightenment with GP Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Touch, move, and inspire. Sharing your story of how you overcame your deepest struggle will serve as someone else's survival guide. You are ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page. I'm Jocelyn Bellows, host of Breakdown to Wake Up, a live stream show dedicated to sharing personal journeys of men and women who have traversed through mazes of uncertainty, dark clouds, and dishonoring themselves, and the lessons they have learned along this path of what one can accomplish in our own self-discovery. And as a writing and life coach, I work with men and women to break through the BS of their lives to find their own voice and leaping into a life they love. It is my belief that when we share our stories of how we overcame what we have been through, it will serve as someone else's survival guide. So if you're ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page, I'd love to hear from you. Go to www.jocelynbellows.com and join me every Tuesday at noon Eastern and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern.
I'm Fidel Nshombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Well, we are back on what I am so hoping is a hot topic because, GP, the law of attraction again, like I remember it was back in 2012 when I was introduced to it, and I thought the way it was being delivered in this particular circumstance, I wasn't drawn to, so I put it down. And then I picked it back up in 2017, and it worked for me at that time. And now, I'm questioning a lot because I love that you highlighted prior to, and many people first are asking, the question that they're asking is actually more about the attainment of desires as opposed to the who is desiring. And that you really have helped me and put me through a little bit of a loop, though, because back then, 3-4 years ago, it really was, my life sucks. I want something better, or my life's amazing. I want more of it. I don't want it to go away, and I end up protecting it and securing it and on guard. But now it's a whole new ballgame when you're asking who is desiring. And I have to ask you, GP, is there even such a thing of a law of attraction when you go into the questioning of who is desiring?
No, it disappears. Yeah. Because as your heart sinks into the unity of being, you don't attract what you are. You're just it. And it all arises out of this illusion of separation. And it's just one of the many ways in which we imagine this separation is going to somehow disappear. That's at the heart of it, is this feeling of being separated from life, from love, from what I need. Everything is this thought of separation, right? The object, and so we seek the object from the point of view of this sense of separation. And so the law of attraction becomes this metaphysical or more esoteric way of trying to mend the separation. The reality is the separation's an illusion. There is no separation. This is what you come to see. At which point the law of attraction dissolves into its roots. It's subsumed, right? It's seen to be a remedial perception of something far deeper, which is the essential unity and singularity of being. And you can't find that in the pursuit of desires. And of course, that is the whole focus of all of the law of attraction since The Secret. Abraham Hicks, that's all they talk about. Do you know what you are wanting? I mean, every event starts with that.
So
and everything is about
separation.
Everything starts with that sense of separation, and how are you going to mend it? Right? And there's a lot of value in the exercises that bring you to a state of feeling like you have, right? It can be an insight. Wait a minute, if I just can feel like I have, why in the world am I pursuing anything? Why don't I just put all my attention there? Because that's what I want. I want to feel. Right. I just want to feel the happiness, the sense of having, right here. Yeah. But that's missed. It's always about having, so that I'll get the thing. So the thing is really the thing. I mean, that's really what is going to make all this work, not the feeling. And of course, it is the feeling of having, the feeling of happiness that we're seeking. And the illusion is that the object that we're pursuing possesses that feeling that we're looking for. And I can assure you it doesn't. You do.
And what you said right there was when we are taught in the law of attraction to raise our vibration, to align, to match so that we can have it, because it possesses it. And it's it the money, the relationship, the body, the whatever, the health, that possesses a vibration that if we're not good enough yet, we need to align the vibration to be able to experience it in our lives.
Right, but of course you're seeking the thing to give you the vibration. But once you get it, what do you need the thing for? You don't.
So this is appreciation.
Yeah, you discover that it's all you, and there isn't any separation. But
right.
if the approach of the law of attraction can be matured and educated into the higher perspective, the higher spiritual perspective, because it is not spiritual, it is a very materialistic view, and it feeds the materialistic ambitions. It feeds the ego. I mean, what can I say? And this idea of pursuing my dreams is, well, my teacher Muji called it a sickness.
Oh dear! Oh, wow.
Because it just emphasizes the pursuit of desire, which has been shown time and time again to be the essence of suffering. The pursuing, what is hell but the desire for something you can't have? That's right. The hellfire. And the object you're pursuing does not possess what you're pursuing it for, which is the textbook definition of hell. That's what it is. That's state of mind. And you'll get it, maybe. If you get it, there'll be a sense of relief. That sense of relief, what really happens is, I have a desire for something. I project onto this object the idea that it has these qualities that are going to make me happy, fulfilled, or whatever feeling I'm after. So I pursue it. I get it, and then I feel that, and I think, see, that's how you get it. So it sets you into Shiva's wheel. The reality is that in the moment you receive it, the desire is gone. And when the desire is gone, the feeling of wholeness, which has been there the whole time, becomes visible, becomes felt for a moment. So it had nothing to do with the object. It had to do with the quenching of desire. But because of our ignorance, we then attach, see, the thing gave it to me. But when the next desire arises and I'm in that state again, which is the desire simply the cloud covering your wholeness, you do the same thing again. This is Shiva's wheel. This is the self-help treadmill. You just reach for it again and again and again. And as you see, the majority of the time you're in suffering because you don't have it. And the minority of the time when that happens, you have that moment that you ignorantly attach to the object. And what's even more sad is when that object is, for whatever reason, isn't attainable. You just, no matter what you do, no matter how high no matter how you visualize till your veins pop out of your head, and it doesn't happen. And then you sit there in misery.
Yes. Okay. Huge thing right there. So quenching of desire, that was so, I felt it. I felt that like I could imagine what that felt like. Oh, yes, it was the quenching of the desire, not the attainment of the object.
Yes.
That allowed me that relief, right? So when we have some things that this is one of my, I'm struggling back and forth with this one, vision boards, which is a board full of desires to be quenched.
Yes, indeed. Or your bucket
list. It's like a Pac-Man, right?
Yes.
And, and it's funny, and she won't mind if I share this, but my sister just shared with me her vision board, and I've never seen anybody do it like this before. I loved it. She didn't do because it gets messy for me. I imagine all these crazy pictures mismatched together. She typed out the words and put one picture per category, which I thought was brilliant. But because it was very organized, very tidy. And so I'm looking at it, but then you're right. Do you wake up and look at the things and think, oh, this is what I'm dreaming, my desires? Or are you looking at like, there's a big to-do list. I really have a lot to accomplish. These are massive dreams. What is the message? Or do we get to decide the message that we've attached to it?
Well, yeah. Who else? The object doesn't decide what it means for you. You do.
Or called. So it's painful. Is it painful to look at a vision board?
Well, like I said, you know, if it's something that inspires a certain amount of enthusiasm and energy in this moment, it's of limited. It has limited value. It has some use, right?
Yeah.
The problem is, for the most part, it becomes this huge distraction from simply being okay with right now. I mean, desire, by its definition, is when it is identified with, becomes it's not okay now.
Yes.
You know, you step into the future. All of a sudden now, everything is deferred to the future. And so what then is right now? It completely distorts this moment and turns it into a stepping stone for when you really get to where you're going. And which means for the most part, you're never happy. You're always striving.
Right.
You never arrive. You're never actually home. This moment is never okay. So how can you really love your life? Because what do we experience? Where do we experience? When do we experience? Other than right now and right here. If here is not okay, when is it going to be okay? You don't live in the future. You live now.
Yeah.
And in the future, you're still going to be there.
Yes, you're taking yourself with you. Right.
Indeed, it's like your shadow. You can't get rid of it.
Yes. Oh, the cat just made me think of a cat chasing its tail. The moment is never okay. I can share with you that I have met many people that think that way, and I'm sure at times I have felt that. Thank goodness it's not this moment, but you know, this moment is never okay. I'm panicking about the future. I'm upset with my past. There's regret. I don't believe that I'll ever be not separated. That sounds like suffering to me, I'll tell you.
Well, it is. That is the essence of suffering, and also the essence of greed. That's another big, beautiful word, because greed isn't just the corporate CEO
selfishy.
who moves the jobs across the ocean in order to increase his stock prices, or the Wall Street broker. The way the word is Buddha used it, he refers to this idea of thinking something externally is going to give you happiness. Anytime we do that, that's greed. That's the energy of trying to acquire something where it cannot be acquired. So
acquisition, yes.
and that is suffering. And the moment there's a desire, and we identify with the desire. Now, you can't get rid of desires. I mean, life is full of desires, right? It's not like they're suddenly going to go away. Enlightenment doesn't mean there's no more desire, right? Otherwise, you'd starve to death in a few days, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right, and the only reason you and I can sit here and talk is because our parents had desire for each other, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, none of us would be here. Life would end. So it's not like you can stop it, right? The question is your relationship with it. Are you turning it in to the fulfillment of that desire becomes the meaning of my life, or is it just an aspect of life that comes and goes and there's no attachment to it? If there's an attachment to it, my mind now starts focusing on the fulfillment of the desire, the moment, and which of course is in the future. The moment that happens, I completely redefine my relationship with this moment. This moment is now not okay. The moment I decide this moment is not okay, in that moment, I begin to suffer. Now, if I don't compare this moment to any other moment, no comparison, no future, no past, right, to the way it used to be or the way it could be or should be, no comparison whatsoever, what's wrong with right now? Nothing.
The answer can only be one thing, is nothing. There's not even a right or wrong answer.
Yeah. So this is all our habitual addiction to a better life in the future. This is why Mooji referred to it as a sickness. It takes you away from the joy of right now. It won't allow the joy of right now. It covers up the joy of right now with this suffering over an imagined future. It's a delusion of the highest order.
delusions, funny you said that. The covering up of right now with what is possible in the future. I was actually going to bring it back to like needs, which you mentioned food, because I thought, is there a difference between needs and desires when it comes to the law of attraction?
Well, yeah, how you just, it's purely cultural and personal and religious as to what's a need and what's a want, right?
Like air, water, food,
Yeah, I mean, we can all agree on shelter, air, water, food, and, when you're human, a companion.
Yeah, some Maslow's.
Yeah. We can all agree. We can all agree on that. Really, if you look at it very strictly, above and beyond that, there aren't any.
Right.
As far as your body is concerned, if that's all taken care of, it doesn't have any needs. Right. So all of the other things are all psychological. They're all made up. They're all cultural.
Yes.
The guy who thinks he needs another $1 billion, right? He thinks he needs it.
He really does. Absolutely.
Yes. He needs that. Yeah. Because he's identified with it. It's become who he is. And so he'll be, his own sense of identity, he'll be less than if he doesn't. And this is where it gets twisted, where what in fact is just a simple desire of life that can come and go becomes the whole meaning of life. It becomes myself.
Yes.
And it ends up, that's pure. That is the nature of the egoic mind, because the egoic mind is. The ego is a word for the actions that arise and the feeling and the actions that arise from that feeling of dissatisfaction. The ego is dissatisfaction incarnate.
Yes. And how beautifully is that as we send people off into commercial time? Just sit with that. Just sit with your ego. But then come on back, because we are going to be in the flow of enlightenment, and we'll show you how you are not less than when we get back on this particular episode, which I love the title so much, The Flaw of Attraction.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On. My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Oh, well, honestly, guys, I'm going to have you have a peek into what GP and I were just talking about, which was actually about extremes during those commercial breaks. So what a beautiful way of kind of stepping into that one when it comes to the flaw and law of attraction, desires, separation, and extremes. There are some people who want Some people who want absolutely everything and then more. Where are these extremes of desires coming from?
Delusion. The three poisons, according to Buddha, and I think they're right, they're spot on: ignorance, delusion, and greed. And greed being the idea that things are going to satisfy me. And so the more you have, the bigger the greed gets, the more you need to satisfy. It's an addiction. Right? So I think it's now like 8 people in the world control more resources than half the population of the planet. Now that's insane.
Yes.
That's utterly insane. That's greed and egoism on an unparalleled scale. At the same time, we've got people going hungry every night. And there's more than adequate resources on the earth to take care of everybody.
Yes.
But this is the nature of the egoic mind. And once it grabs a hold of that kind of power, it doesn't want to let go. This is why it's ignorance, and that's why it's delusional. The delusionist thinks that somehow, anytime you think you can benefit at the expense of somebody else, you are thoroughly in delusion. Nobody can. That's contrary to the natural laws of the universe, of the real universe, which is beneficent and loving and compassionate. So it takes just an incredible mountain of ignorance. There's a story I heard about the 2 authors, Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller, who wrote Catch-22. And Kurt Vonnegut said they were at a party at this billionaire's house in the Hamptons in New York. And Kurt Vonnegut said to Joseph Heller, he says, this guy makes more in one day than you've made on all the sales in the entire lifetime of Catch-22. And Heller replied, yeah, but I have something he'll never have. Vonnegut said, what's that? He said, enough.
I love that.
It's the pursuit, the constant pursuit, which means if you're in that pursuit, you're not satisfied.
Yes.
And that more, I want more, is a parasitic delusion. It will literally kill the host. They are killing the planet.
Yes.
But they're so blind to it. They think. I mean, that's the ignorance. That's the delusion. That's the state of greed. And they could very well take all of us with them. That's what we're confronting in these final days. So, but I really want to focus on what you and I can actually do, how we can regain this inner territory and get ourselves off of the Shiva's wheel, get ourselves off the self-help law of attraction treadmill, to find the origin of suffering, right?
Yes.
And the origin of suffering is our attachment to desire, not the desires themselves.
Does suffering have any attachment either as well as to fear?
Well, you can't have one without the other. You cannot have desire without fear.
Oh.
How can you? If I have no desire, what am I afraid of?
Oh. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. But that's helpful to know. We can't have desire without fear, because of fear of not getting it, losing it if you get it, or not being good enough to receive it.
That's attachment and aversion.
Okay.
That feeling of fear is the feeling of dissatisfaction. I've got to get it. And that dissatisfaction can grow to desperation because we think of what we need it for. We have got to have this. And that's the ignorance. No, you don't. You don't need to have that. But how do you prove that to yourself? Well, you have to look at what we invest in the objects of our desire that we pursue. What do we think it's going to give us? And does it really give it? Can it really do that? Can it make me feel complete? It can make me feel good, of course. I get a new relationship, it feels good, right? Does it complete me? Will it complete me? When I think it can, then I'm going to be trying to get from this other person something they can't give me. And in the process, I won't be able to take advantage of what they can give me. Which means the relationship becomes a business transaction and not a true intimate relationship, intimate romance.
Right. Yes.
It's this constantly trying to get something from each other, but this is how we are with the whole world. We think that it's going to bring us something, and every spiritual teacher, sage, Buddha in all history has said the same thing. It doesn't have it to give. The world cannot give you anything.
I love that. There's such beauty in there, and I'm just, I can't say reminded, but I am reminded it just happened yesterday. So I just like to share this with you, GP, is that I love that feeling of not business transaction. In fact, we needed to call a plumber in, and there was a fellow that was recommended, and he's 70 years old. He's retiring, but he knows what he's doing. He's very kind, but he's quite a bit slower, and he can't quite do the things he would like to do. And I thought, well, there's no difference between him or I. Why can't we work together? Or my fella here, he's like, well, I go, let's all do it together. So all three of us are, some people might say, well, gosh, I'm hiring a plumber to come do this. Well, no, you're trying to solve an issue that needs to be fixed. And, you might have to do, but it felt good to not have that line like, oh, well, no, you're supposed to do that. I own you. I've paid you to do this.
Yes.
It felt really good. And then what a celebration at the end where you have a little chat like, oh, what is about your life? Where did you live? Well, tell me some stories. And that we're all one. That lack of, we eliminated separation, and it felt really good.
You also eliminated the greed, and you eliminated the what is in the essence of the capitalistic system, and which is just a modern form of slavery, which is employer-employee. The employer makes all the decisions and imposes them on the employee. That's slavery.
Oh, yeah, yuck.
It is. I mean, we went from the lord or the aristocrat and serf to the master slave to the employer-employee. It's the same model. It's been that way. It's been that way almost from the beginning of culture, which started about 12,000 years ago with agriculture. When land became property to be owned rather than the earth that was taking care of me, the idea of ownership and property took on the value that it does now. And so it really is the pursuit of property, the protection of property. I am my property. And so now I want to manifest property by raising my vibration to the same level as the property I want to possess.
Yes.
When you look at it in the right eye, from the right point of view, you go, "Oh my God, that's ugly."
Yes, I was just recognizing that, and to bring this really all like it is all together. This whole beautiful hour has been this way, but it's one place to come from. This earth takes care of me. To another one was I must control and extract and pull from the ground, and then so right now in where we are, we're all here at this time listening to this, and is there such thing as raising your vibration to the point of where we recognize the earth takes care of me, or where's our best place to go?
I surely wish that had been the direction it had gone. I remember hearing an interview with Neil Donald Walsh, the guy who wrote the Conversations with God book.
God, I love that, yes.
And he said he had watched The Secret. Says, yeah, it was interesting. He says, but in the entire thing, there was not one mention of eradicating poverty, educating, taking care of people.
Right.
It was all about me.
Yes, it was.
Which is greed.
Yeah. And
it appeals to the most base instinct of us, and this is the instinct of me over everyone, and it's totally everything gets turned into a commodity, right? Not only is this present moment subordinated to some future moment, every object you pursue becomes an object. It's not a living thing anymore. The earth is a commodity. It's something to be exploited. Relationships are something to be exploited, and that's what they talk about business relationships. It's exploitation of each other.
Exploitation
for gain, right? So everything gets turned into that. Every good quality, right, becomes a marketing opportunity, right? How do you market spirituality, right? I mean, how do I market my retreat? Everything gets reduced to this. It's more than just the exploitation of people on the earth. It is a decadent value system.
Almost like, I'm going to make this sound absolutely ridiculous, and sorry, please forgive me guys for saying this, but I remember when I used to eat chocolate chip cookies, and then they came out with chocolate chip chunk, and I thought, well, that's just pushing it. Come on now, that's a little too much chocolate in it. But and sorry, I was trying not trying to make light, but what it is where does it stop? It just becomes more painful.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at line extensions. I've got this vodka now. I've got lemon vodka now. I've got mint vodka. It's like, okay, enough, right? I could put my own damn mint in the vodka. I mean,
right.
Who cares?
I always thought that too, actually.
But it's this endless pursuit of the next product because we've got to make more. We've got to make more. We've got to make more. Right? What if all the energy and innovation and brilliant minds that are working on the next iPhone, right, or the the next model's car, were all dedicated to solving worldwide hunger, all that technology into renewable resources, into clean water? What if all of that intelligence is redirected? We would be living in utopia in a year.
Yes, no doubt. Redirecting intelligence. Does this require that I'm giving us all homework now. Thanks, GP. Can we ourselves, just, redirect our own intelligence towards self-inquiry? That's not greed, though. That's not me. Self-inquiry is not me. Self-inquiry is who am I, which is all.
Well, yes, self-inquiry is not just an inquiry into the self I think I am. It's really living with the question, who am I really? Is who I think I am who I actually am? Are these feelings really mine? Right? Are my desires really mine? Are my thoughts really mine? Or do I just think they are? The image I hold of myself, is that really me? That's the heart and soul of it. And the realization that it's not, that it's an acquired sense of self, that it was programmed into the system, and most of it is just conditioned responses, and not even a self at all, is the revelation that turns your attention towards, well, what here is real? What is it that I can actually trust? Desires come and go. Relationships fail. The whole culture that I believed in and devoted my life to has failed. Right? It's falling apart all around me. What's real? What can I trust? Am I just going to revert back to? Let's try to go back to the way it was. Give me that old time religion kind of thing. Or are we going to embark on something completely novel, completely fresh, completely new, which is the discovery of who you really are? And every true spiritual teacher will tell you, yes, there is a real you that was there before all the conditioning took place, that is bigger than, separate from, and predominant over all desires, all thoughts, all feelings, all sensations. You are way beyond all of it, and it's waiting there for you to discover. Please take the trip.
Oh, step into the flow.
Step into the flow.
Is it really me? I love that. And I think that's what we're trying to capture this tiny short little hour, is that the law of attraction is, it can't just be about attracting something you're separate from. It really is about finding out who you really are and who you're not. and those conditions responses.
Yes.
So I didn't do any invitations, so I'm going to quickly do them now because we got this. I knew this was going to be a good one. All of them are good, but is that if you would like to call in and ask a question ever live on air here, we do take your questions ahead of time. So you want to email us at questions@gpwalsh.com. That way we can explore it and then GP can address it during the show. You're more than welcome to join our Facebook group, which is GP Walsh Spiritual Teacher. Just request to join there. We can have a peek at you there, or call in live during the show. We're here every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And GP, just on this law of attraction before we scoot away, if you could just share with us in 30 seconds, the flaw of attraction, the law of attraction, in a nutshell. Don't just everybody run and abandon everything. What is the first step they can do to get on the right track?
Well, the first thing they can do is recognize, this might be first off, you're not broken, right? There's nothing wrong with you. Everything you are seeking, you already have. It's within you. You just need to learn where to look. It's not like there's a thing. I'm looking for happiness. I'm going to find happiness, or I'm going to find my car in me, or something like that. It's not like that. You're going to find you. And you're going to find that with you comes all the rest of it. You find the flower, you find the perfume. And this is why I keep urging you, come back to you. Find out who you are.
And that is non-duality, self-inquiry. So come on back next Tuesday because we're going to help you find where to look. Thank you so much, GP.
Thanks, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.